Good morning, everyone. This is Debbie Royce, Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation's Corporate Secretary. I'd like to welcome everyone to this morning's meeting. Before we formally begin, I would ask everyone to please mute your lines unless you're speaking. We'll begin today by taking a roll call of the directors to ensure we have a quorum present on the line. Please be so kind as to say present when you hear your name. Chair Robert Joya.
Present.
Julie Barnese.
Present.
Shatura Donovan.
Present.
Connie Lyden.
Present.
Al Matua.
Present.
Mike Vogel.
Present.
Was County Executive Mark Polenkars able to join the call this morning?
This is Dan Castle representing Mark Polenkars.
Good morning, Mr. Castle. Thanks so much. And was Mayor Brown able to join the meeting? Okay, thanks so much. Thanks everyone for joining today, and thanks for your patience as we had some technical issues. And Chairman Joya, you'll be ready to begin.
Just a note for everyone, we are live on the air.
Thanks, Rich. Okay, Chairman Joya, are you ready to begin?
Thank you, Debbie. Good morning, everyone. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation for Monday, June 14th, 2021. Before we get started, I will ask that everyone please mute their phone until they're ready to speak. Also, for the record, I will ask that anyone wishing to speak, please be sure to state your name before you begin. I'd like to note for the record that due to public health concerns and as authorized by an executive order of the governor, this meeting will be conducted by teleconference. I will also note for the record that public was given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments by 4:30 on Friday. I'd like to state for the record that no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items. If so, I would ask that you please make the appropriate disclosure at this time. We will then begin to make sure that we will then be sure that you may recuse yourself from any discussion or voting on this item. Are there any potential conflicts? Hearing none, our first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the directors' meeting of March 22nd, 2021. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mike Vogel, so move.
Seconded, McCown.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. I would now like to call upon Steve Rinaldi to present the next item on today's agenda, a request for the corporation to adopt revised guidelines for the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts. Steve, when you're ready.
Good morning, Robert. Good morning, everybody. Nice little bit of teamwork there before we got going to get everyone on the call. On March 25th of this year, the Empire State Development Board of Directors adopted the proposed 2021 procurement guidelines, which set forth the policies and procedures to be followed by ESD and its subsidiaries, including ECHDC, when seeking to contract for goods or services. It's required that each ESD subsidiary approve its own procurement guidelines in terms virtually identical to the proposed 2021 guidelines, with any departure therefrom fully explained by the subsidiary board. Accordingly, the ECHDC directors are asked to approve the proposed guidelines today. It should be noted that these guidelines do not have the force of law and are intended as a statement of best practices and procedures, and no contract is invalid merely because these guidelines have not been followed. The guidelines define the universe of procurement transactions which are subject to the policies and procedures, and the guidelines explain the various means of obtaining goods and services in an open, accountable, and transparent manner, including incorporation of the bid opening guidelines and a compilation of a procurement record for every covered procurement contract. These guidelines also comply with the applicable provisions of the Public Authorities Law, the State Finance Law, and the State Tax Law. ESD staff has determined that approval of the proposed 2021 guidelines does not constitute an action as defined by the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and its implementing regulations. No further environmental review is required in connection with the requested approval. The directors are requested to adopt the proposed 2021 guidelines for the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts. And based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of this requested action. Robert?
Thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments from any of the directors? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. McCall.
Second?
Mike Vogel, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Steve will now present the final item on today's agenda, a request for authorization for the corporation to enter into a contract for the construction of the canal side parking lot renovation project. Steve?
Thanks again. As you know, the growth of canal side has led the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation to obtain the use of 2 parking lots located on New York State Department of Transportation-owned property. These 2 lots, located along Perry Boulevard at the intersection with Commercial Street, are identified in our modified general project plan. On April 5th of this year, we solicited bids for the project in the New York State Contract Reporter. A total of 3 bids were received on May 4th of 2021. Our staff, along with Lyro Engineers, descoped Scott Lawn Yard, who was the apparent low bidder, on May 11th of this year, and Lyro Engineers recommended awarding the contract to Scott Lawn Yard, who was found to be the lowest responsible bidder. For over 25 years, Scott Lawn Yard has been in the business of providing Western New York and the area around it with various services in the construction industry. As far back as 1985, they started with landscape and maintenance and have worked their way up into larger commercial projects. Scott Lawn Yard is very familiar with Erie Canal Harbor Development as well as Canal Side and successfully worked with us on the Central Wharf extension, which goes back about 4 or 5 years ago now. Pursuant to the State Finance Law, Sections 139J and 139K, and the corporation's policy related thereto, staff considers the proposed contractor to be responsible. The scope of work that Scott Lawn Yard will be helping with is basically resurfacing these current gravel lots. We'll be putting down asphalt pavement, improving the site drainage as well. These lots will both be striped to maximize parking utilization on the site, and the edges of the parking lots will be improved with black aluminum fencing, landscaping, and even seating along the sidewalk. A good portion of the adjacent sidewalk will be replaced to provide a uniform and accessible path for pedestrians. Lighting will be added, as well as new pay stations will be installed. The contract is a lump sum in the amount not to exceed $1,194,583. That's with a base bid of $995,483 and a $199,100 contingency. The project is slated to begin later this month and expected to be completed in a year from now. We do intend to issue a notice to proceed to Scott Lawn Yard in the amount of $50,000 to install temporary fencing, begin submittal materials for long lead items, and begin the process of removing existing site elements so that we can get started as quickly as possible. The funding source shall be the New York Power Authority Industrial Incentives. ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policy will apply to the contract. We have an overall MWBE participation goal of 30% with an SDVOB participation goal of 3%. Scott Lawn Yard itself is a certified women-owned business in the state of New York, and they've also on their team 2 MBEs, LeCur Enterprises out of Williamsville, as well as Ojibwe Construction Corporation out of Tonawanda, and D. Miles, a group they work with regularly out of the Falls, is listed as the SDVOB. At our March 16th meeting of last year, the directors authorized the corporation to secure the use and occupancy permit for these lots. And at that time, went through it and evaluated the applicability of the 2010 Canal Side Seeker findings with regard to the rehabilitation of these parking lots and concluded that no additional environmental review is required. So the directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contractor, to authorize the corporation to enter into a construction contract with Scott Lawn Yard for an amount not to exceed $995,483 plus a $199,100 contingency for a total contract amount of $1,194,583 and to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of these requested actions. Robert? Robert, you may be muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been muted. Thank you, Steve. Okay. Are there any questions from any of the directors? Thank you. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mike Vogel, so move.
Second?
Julie Barnese, second.
Thank you. The motion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. There being no further business, may I have an entertainment motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved, Shatora Donovan.
Been moved.
Mike Vogel, second.
And seconded. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, for your participation in today's meeting, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
long, everyone.
Thank you very much.